Chapter 7. Crime Story. Core need, safety. Core life value, injustice versus justice. Core emotion, intrigue. Core event, exposure of the criminal. Crime Story answers the complex question, how do you expose defectors from society's conventions, laws, and codes, and punish wrongdoing? These stories follow characters who reject the social contract that holds society together. They pose compelling, practical, and philosophical questions for readers. How can we find and eliminate the bad apples in the system? What is the best way to punish a lawbreaker? What motivates a criminal? Will understanding those motivations help us improve the law or the judicial system? How do you deliver the experience Crime Story readers are looking for? The core need for safety arises when the inciting crime is discovered. Crime is an existential threat to the security and coherence of society, so the luminary agent must find the wrongdoers and bring them to justice. The star of every crime story, whether it involves a small-time heist or a grisly murder, is the intricate process by which the luminary agent solves this problem. In Crime Story, the protagonist's deeper need, which all humans share, is to return order to a chaotic world, which often mirrors some inner psychological turmoil in the protagonist. The core life value of the crime genre derived from the need for safety spans justice and injustice, and the gradations beyond and in between, including tyranny and unfairness. The luminary agent acts on behalf of the larger society to pursue justice for agency-deprived victims. There are at least a dozen subgenres within Crime Story, including many just within the category of murder mysteries. Rather than being based on fundamental life values as in war stories or the nature of the force of antagonism as in action and horror stories, the subgenre of crime stories often depend on the characteristics of the protagonist. A hard-boiled detective, a police investigator, setting, a newsroom or courtroom drama, or type of crime, a heist caper, or espionage. When the luminary agent exposes the criminal, we feel the core emotion of intrigue, which again we describe as a flavor of satisfaction when, quote-unquote, the penny drops. That familiar feeling when things finally add up. Curiosity and the need to solve a puzzle drive readers to turn the pages of a crime story until the perpetrator is unmasked. If the criminal is never identified, the reader is fundamentally dissatisfied. But that doesn't mean the criminal always must be punished. In fact, it's common for wrongdoers to get away with their misdeeds in crime stories. The global crisis of Crime Story brings us to the negative end of the justice-injustice spectrum as the luminary agent seems unable to discover the identity of the criminal and bring them to justice. The global crisis sets up the core event, which is the exposure of the criminal scene. The exposure of the criminal's identity, which is both the global climax and the climax of the ending payoff, integrates all three core essentials. The luminary agent's core need defines the core life value at stake, which produces a core emotion response in the reader, resolving the feeling of intrigue. The core need for safety is in peril, and the luminary agent often must choose between their own safety and the safety of the society or the victim for whom they seek justice. The rise of the detective story, one of the most popular kinds of crime stories, parallels the growth of urbanization, industrialization, and bureaucracy. Millions of readers devour great detective stories in books, films, and TV series because modern life is fraught with complexity and the root causes of threats to our society are often a mystery. We take satisfaction when a Sherlock Holmes, Frank Columbo, or Jane Tennyson exposes one clear source of trouble, whether it's an individual criminal or a corrupt organization. Real life doesn't always result in justice, so we can lose our sense of what right and wrong, or justice and tyranny, really mean. So when truth and justice prevail in a story, we feel a sense of security we crave. The deeper takeaway of Crime Story lies in the courage to face the truth, no matter the consequences. The controlling idea or theme of a crime story touches on this. Justice prevails when the protagonist overpowers or outwits the antagonist to reveal the truth. Or if the story ends with the escape of the criminal, tyranny prevails when the perpetrator overpowers or outwits the protagonist and the system. Regardless of the outcome, knowing the meaning of justice in this situation and who is to blame for injustice gives us the cathartic release that is the point of the story. With the crime genre, the focus of stories' great conflicts moves further into conflicts between the individual and the group, as individual desires threaten society's integrity. Criminals believe the ends, getting exactly what they want as individuals, justify the means, breaking society's laws. Summing up, in crime stories, our need to feel safe leads us to identify with the protagonist who seeks to uncover the perpetrator of the crime. We respond to conflict on the justice-injustice spectrum with a feeling of intrigue, a desire to see the puzzle solved. In the core event, the exposing the criminal scene, the core need for safety is most in jeopardy. A life value reaches the extreme of injustice, and the core emotion of intrigue is at its height just before the criminal is exposed. By setting up and delivering the scene in an innovative way, we meet the crime story reader's expectations.